Consider your current fitness level honestly and calculate how far you would need to progress before even beginning serious combat training. Wick's conditioning allows him to fight continuously for extended periods while maintaining perfect technique execution. Achieving this level of fitness requires cardiovascular conditioning that exceeds what most endurance athletes possess. Professional fighters typically spend 2 to 3 years developing the basic conditioning needed to survive intensive training sessions before they can focus on technique development. Current research on expertise development shows that achieving world-class performance in any complex skill requires approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. Wick demonstrates world-class abilities in at least 6 different combat disciplines, suggesting a training requirement exceeding 60,000 hours. Training 50 hours weekly would require 23 years to accumulate this practice time. Assuming no injuries, perfect instruction, and optimal learning conditions that never occur in reality. Even with unlimited time, money, and dedication, the biological reality is that most humans lack the genetic potential to achieve Wick's abilities. Elite athletes represent genetic outliers with physical and mental attributes that cannot be developed through training alone. Fast-twitch muscle fiber ratios, reaction time capabilities, and coordination potential are largely determined by genetics rather than effort. But even if you somehow possess superhuman genetics and completed impossible training regimens, you'd still face a challenge that makes everything else look simple, staying invisible in a world where privacy no longer exists. Legal impossibility. Operating as a criminal in today's surveillance state presents legal challenges that would end any real-world assassin's career before it truly begins. When was the last time you went an entire day without being tracked by at least 5 different surveillance systems? Think about your typical morning routine. Your phone connects to cell towers every few seconds, creating location data that gets stored indefinitely. Your car's GPS system logs every route you take. Security cameras record you at gas stations, stores, and intersections. Credit cards track every purchase with timestamps and locations. Ring doorbells capture footage when you walk past neighborhoods. License plate readers scan your vehicle at highway checkpoints. Now imagine trying to operate as John Wick in the surveillance environment where anonymity has become virtually impossible. Modern law enforcement capabilities in 2025 have reached levels that make Wick's criminal career impossible from the first gunshot. Facial recognition systems now operate in real time across millions of cameras in major cities worldwide. These systems can identify individuals even when wearing sunglasses, hats, or partial face coverings. Current accuracy rates exceed 95% for clear facial images and remain above 78% even with significant disguise attempts. Police departments share facial recognition databases instantly across international borders, meaning that committing crimes in one country immediately flags you in law enforcement systems globally. The moment Wick's face appears on any security camera during his first criminal act, every law enforcement agency worldwide would receive his photograph and location data within minutes. Digital tracking capabilities extend far beyond facial recognition into areas that most people never consider. Your smartphone broadcasts unique MAC addresses to every Wi-Fi network within range, creating location logs even when you're not connected to internet services. Bluetooth signals from your devices communicate with other phones, cars, and smart devices, generating proximity data that places you at specific locations during specific time periods. Cell phone towers triangulate your position continuously, creating movement patterns that remain stored in databases for years. Even when phones are turned off, they still emit signals that specialized law enforcement equipment can detect and track. International cooperation between law enforcement agencies has reached unprecedented levels that would make Wick's global operations impossible. Interpol's current database systems allow real-time information sharing between 195 member countries with search response times under 30 seconds for most queries. The European Union's law enforcement cooperation agreements enable police forces to coordinate cross-border operations within hours rather than days or weeks. Financial intelligence units share suspicious transaction reports automatically through secure networks that monitor money movements across international borders. Modern extradition treaties allow rapid prisoner transfers between countries, eliminating the safe havens that international criminals previously relied upon for protection. Legal consequences for Wick's actions using 2025 criminal justice statistics would result in multiple life sentences in every country where he operates. Current federal sentencing guidelines impose mandatory minimums of 25 years to life for each murder committed with a firearm. His body count across the movie series exceeds 400 confirmed kills, which would result in cumulative sentences totaling over 10,000 years in prison. International criminal courts now prosecute mass murder cases as crimes against humanity when body counts exceed 100 victims. Death penalty statutes in multiple states mandate execution for serial killers who murder more than 3 victims using similar methods. Modern forensics and DNA analysis would identify any real-world Wick within days of his first criminal act. Current DNA processing technology can extract genetic profiles from microscopic evidence samples that would have been unusable just 5 years ago. Touch DNA analysis can identify individuals from skin cells left on surfaces they barely contacted. Blood spatter analysis uses computer modeling to reconstruct crime scenes with mathematical precision that places suspects at exact locations during specific time periods. Ballistics databases automatically match bullet and shell casing evidence across multiple crime scenes, creating connections that reveal patterns investigators can follow. Consider how quickly authorities coordinate global manhunts using current technology systems. Real-time crime analysis software processes evidence from multiple scenes simultaneously, identifying patterns and predicting likely next targets within hours. Automated license plate recognition systems track vehicle movements across entire continents, creating travel logs that show exactly where suspects have been and where they might be heading. Airport security systems share passenger manifests instantly with international databases, flagging suspects before they can board flights. Credit card monitoring systems alert authorities within minutes when cards associated with wanted individuals get used anywhere in the world. Technology companies now cooperate with law enforcement in ways that would expose Wick's activities immediately. Google, Apple, Facebook, and other major platforms provide location data, communication records, and user activity logs to authorities within hours of receiving proper legal requests. Ring doorbell footage gets shared automatically with police departments through Amazon's partnership programs. Uber and Lyft maintain detailed records of passenger locations and travel patterns that can place suspects at crime scenes during specific time windows. Credit card companies flag unusual spending patterns and automatically report suspicious activities to financial intelligence units. The technological landscape of 2025 creates surveillance capabilities that make John Wick's criminal career impossible from the moment he commits his first crime. Every action leaves digital evidence, every movement gets tracked by multiple systems, and every transaction creates records that law enforcement can access instantly. International cooperation eliminates geographic boundaries that once provided protection for criminals. Modern forensics technology makes avoiding physical evidence nearly impossible. When you combine these legal realities with all the physical, mental, and financial impossibilities the harsh verdict. Every piece of evidence points to the same inescapable conclusion about your chances of becoming the world's most feared assassin. After examining every aspect of John Wick's world through the lens of 2025 science and technology, the verdict is brutally clear. Becoming Baba Yaga represents an impossibility that has grown even more unrealistic since the movies were released. Think honestly about your capabilities after everything we've discussed. Could you survive falls that kill 90% of people who attempt them? Could you fight continuously for 20 minutes when elite UFC fighters require rest breaks every 5 minutes? Could you maintain perfect shooting accuracy when trained police officers hit their targets only 18% of the time during real gunfights? The mathematical reality demolishes any fantasy of stepping into Wick's blood-soaked shoes. Your chances of survival decrease with every technological advancement that has emerged since these films captured audiences worldwide. The surveillance capabilities that seemed like science fiction just 5 years ago now operate in every major city globally. Facial recognition systems that couldn't identify disguised suspects in 2019 now achieve 95% accuracy rates, even when targets wear masks or sunglasses. Cell phone tracking that required specialized equipment now happens automatically through civilian infrastructure that logs your location every few seconds. The digital anonymity that made criminal legends possible has been systematically eliminated by technological progress that turns every smartphone into a tracking device and every security camera into an identification system. Consider the combined impact of every obstacle we've analyzed and multiply their difficulty by the interaction effects that compound each challenge. Physical limitations don't exist in isolation from mental stress. Your shooting accuracy drops dramatically when you're exhausted from combat, creating a feedback loop where fatigue leads to missed shots. which increases danger, which elevates stress, which causes more fatigue. Financial constraints interact with training requirements because developing elite skills demands resources that most millionaires cannot sustain long-term. Legal impossibilities compound medical realities because getting shot creates evidence trails that lead authorities directly to hospital records, making treatment a guaranteed path to capture. Most people cannot run continuously for 15 minutes without stopping, yet Wick fights trained killers for extended periods while maintaining perfect technique execution. Average individuals struggle to make rational decisions during minor stress like job interviews or driving tests, yet Wick makes life or death choices flawlessly while bullets fly past his head. Ordinary people develop anxiety disorders from workplace pressure or relationship problems, yet Wick maintains perfect mental stability while living under constant threat of assassination. The gap between normal human capability and Wick's performance represents differences so vast that they cannot be bridged through training, preparation, or determination. Modern research has revealed impossibilities that weren't even considered when earlier analyses examined Wick's capabilities. Neuroscience studies from 2025 show that chronic stress literally shrinks brain regions responsible for rational decision-making while enlarging areas that process fear and anxiety. This means that living under constant threat will make you worse at the precise thinking required for survival, creating a biological catch-22 that makes sustained success impossible. Exercise physiology research has identified specific metabolic limitations that prevent humans from maintaining high-intensity activity beyond narrow time windows, regardless of conditioning level. These aren't barriers that can be overcome through willpower or superior training methods. They represent fundamental biological constraints that define human performance limits. Current scientific understanding reveals sobering truths about human limitations that make Wick's achievements fantasy rather than achievable goals. Trauma surgery statistics show that surviving his signature building falls would require survival rates that violate known medical possibilities. Combat endurance research demonstrates that maintaining his fighting pace exceeds what human cardiovascular and metabolic systems can sustain. Marksmanship studies prove that achieving his shooting accuracy under stress conditions defies every known principle of human performance under pressure. Strength biomechanics data shows that overpowering his opponents would require force generation capabilities that exceed human muscular potential. The financial requirements alone would bankrupt individuals whose net worth exceeds most people's lifetime earnings. Wick's weekly operational expenses surpass annual salaries for successful professionals. His equipment costs exceed home values for middle-class families. The legal consequences of his actions would guarantee life imprisonment or execution in every jurisdiction where he operates, making long-term success impossible regardless of his ability to avoid immediate capture. The psychological damage from his lifestyle would create mental health disorders severe enough to require immediate psychiatric intervention, making sustained operation impossible even if all other obstacles could somehow be overcome. Ballistics research has progressed to the point where every bullet fired can be traced to specific weapons through microscopic analysis that creates unique fingerprints for individual firearms. DNA extraction techniques now recover genetic evidence from traces so small that avoiding detection requires precautions that make normal operation impossible. Financial tracking systems monitor transactions in real time across international borders, making the large-scale money movements required for Wick's lifestyle immediately visible to law enforcement agencies. Each technological advancement eliminates another method that fictional criminals use to avoid detection, creating a surveillance environment where operating as Wick does becomes mathematically impossible.